Welcome to the Sisters of the Shire Podcast, your gateway to the captivating world of J.R.R. Tolkien.
I'm Ashley, your faithful guide through Middle-earth, and I'm thrilled to explore the unfinished tales with you this season. Joining me, as always, is my cousin and co-host, Abby, and we are going to embark on this epic journey together.
So whether you're deeply immersed in Tolkien's works or just beginning to discover them, our podcast offers engaging discussions and fresh perspectives. So let's dive into the unfinished tales together and let the adventure unfold. Let's go!
Let's go! Yes! Nailed that one.
Yes. So I apologize. I'm going to... hold on. Yeah. I'm going to apologize.
You preface your... You better apologize.
I'm sorry. My office is getting built out today. Like, they have been building it at our art studio, like the cabinetry and everything. But then they're actually installing it today, which is the day of all days this week when we're trying to record. So, I'm just going to apologize if you hear any sounds of machinery, saws, hammers, toddlers.
I was going to say, and all of your kids are home.
Yeah, and all of my kids are home because there's no school today. So, yep, we've got a little dude downstairs. He is the, what is that called? Site manager? What is the,
the general foreman?
Yeah, he's like, hey, are you slacking over there? You get back to work. He's yelling at my husband.
Someone's got to do it. And, he's got the volume for it. So
he does. He was doing some motivational, he was singing. So his favorite song is We Will Rock You by Queen.
Oh my gosh.
And he was scream singing it to them while they were trying to work. And stomping his feet. And the best part is he does it. He goes, "Fuck you, sing it now." "Fuck you, sing it now." Over and over, but it's screaming level. And he stomps his foot and claps like they do in the song, and it's pretty cute. But when there's sounds of construction and a screaming toddler at the same time, I'm like, well, I'm going to go jump off a cliff now because this is way too much in my home. If it was outside, that'd be fine. But it's in my tiny office. So I'm like, So I apologize. I might have to.
That's the vibe coming from in Abby's house right now.
Yes. So if there's a weird pause of editing, it's because Ashley had to pause it because I had to run downstairs to go do something either for the construction that's happening or taking care of my toddler because he's probably getting in the way of the construction. So,
Welcome to Mom Life 101.
Yeah. But I'm so excited to show you guys what it's going to look like afterwards.
I'm so excited. Do you need any? Should I be shopping for you? Do you want me to create a Pinterest board? Or I'm sure you already have a Pinterest board.
I'll show you my Pinterest board after this, but I'm excited. Think my inspiration was not to be too on the nose here. Think Hogwarts library, Tolkien study, Library of Rivendell situation.
Okay. I like it. So I'm so how would you describe my office, Abby?
A wonderful, colorful, sparkly ADHD wonderland.
What's funny is I don't even have ADHD, but that's just how I come off, I think.
Yeah. Because you have different corners of different things you love in your room.
Yes.
It's not all one theme. It's here's my Disney corner. Here's my Tolkien corner. Here's my crafting corner. It's just kind of all your loves, your heart threw up in your room of all the things.
Yes. Yes. I have a buffalo Lego next to me. I mean, It doesn't apply. I have a Kirby. Have you ever seen this? I freaking love this so much. It's a Kirby keychain, but I didn't want to put it on anything because I didn't want to lose it. Have I showed this to you before? Because this is my
so
absolute
cute.
favorite from Super Smash Brothers. It's Kirby, who is already freaking adorable, but it's the Link version, and it makes me so happy. So he just hangs off my lamp.
He ate a Link.
He ate a Link.
He ate him.
So
he vacuumed him, and then he's Link now.
Yep.
Anyway, so I apologize to all our listeners out there if you hear a toddler foreman out there who's yelling at his workers, and then some saws, some hammers, some
not like the
growling,
scary saw,
some growling testosterone in there saying, getting mad at each other of putting in bookshelves, all that down there, and then 3 children. So
right, what could go wrong?
And I'm also upstairs in the spare bedroom, and there's no desk up here, so I'm like having to hold my microphone. So that's also might be some disturbance in the
in the force.
In the force. So I'm sorry.
It's fine. We're fine. So, how much do you remember of last week?
Tuor got a sign from Olmo where he was like, I'm going to follow this randomly bubbling stream because that seems like the right thing to do. And so he's like, it
wasn't randomly. He sang a song and it started bubbling like Zelda. Like you got to play your ocarina, play this certain song, and then do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
And so he started following this stream, and he's like, this will lead me to the mysterious hidden kingdom that who's the guy he's trying to find? What's his name?
Well, it's Turgon, but he's also like the gate of the Noldor is how I'm going to get to Turgon. Yeah.
So he's trying to find those 2 things, the gate and that guy. And he's like, I know that I have faith for some reason that this stream is going to lead me there. And so he's leading him there, or he's following it, and he gets to the most obvious hidden doorway. The most obvious hidden doorway. And he's like, oh, I'm lost. This was nothing. I followed this for nothing. And then there are the 2 elves who get a second shout out because they were in the Silmarillion, but they didn't get like a lot of screen time. And so they're like, or page time, I would say.
Page time, yeah.
And so he's like, oh, alas, I am lost. I've been following this stream like an idiot, and I haven't been able to find this thing. And they're like, dude, you're literally here. Like, this is it. And he's like,
yeah.
Huh? And there's like, I want like blinking signs. That's like a arrow that's like, you are here. You're here now. He's like, I can't find it. Oh gosh. And then
typical man losing things that are right in front of him.
Yeah. And so they're like, yeah, dude, it's right here. And then those 2 elves were like going to go do something crazy as well. Like they were like off to weren't they off to like tell somebody something important?
Yes. So it's actually connecting their mention from the Silmarillion. They're actually going to go that their cue, like, you're on stage, let's go. He's coming. Time. So they have to go. Yeah, they have to go warn Orodreth and Turin in Nargothrond. And they're going to get ignored, of course, because Turin's like, I like my bridge. It's so shiny and beautiful. And he's like, well, it could lead, maybe like a dragon to your lair. And he's like, nah,
that's right.
It's fine. Right. So that's where
those
they were
2
going.
guys, they were playing good cop and bad cop. And one of them was like, I'm not going to tell you anything. I don't know you, strange blonde man. And then he's like,
yes.
The other guy's like, well, actually, if you want help, it's over here. But that's as far as we're going to take you because we have to go do our own thing now. And so they left him under a waterfall in a cave tunnel thing and didn't give him any of their cool special flashlight that they had. And then they left him in the dark. And they're like, good luck. Bye. And poor
Take luck.
Tuor was like, okay. All right. So he's feeling the cave walls in darkness to try to get out towards
you covered
the did I do okay?
You did that. Like, I was like literally going through, like, I literally put my entire outline into ChatGPT and say, summarize this into 10 talking points. You hit like almost every single one of them. Like, I'm so proud of you.
Woo! I did it.
You did it. You even like landed exactly at the right spot. Like, I'm so proud of you. A+. I am going to take a quick segue before we start because I thought my Spotify poll question might have been the best poll question I've done for last week's episode. Like, I think I did one a long time ago for Baron, but basically the question is, what would have been Tuor's outlaw name? And before with Baron, I think I just came up with them on my own, but of course I had the robots help me with Tuor's outlaw name. And only one person has voted. I'm a little offended because I think the options are pretty amazing myself. Did you see what the options were?
An Instagram story. The poll on the Instagram stories.
I might have you do that because you're better at that than I am. But okay, here are the choices. The Tall Terror. Blonde Thunder.
Aren't elves normally tall? Like taller than men? Aren't they like always taller?
Yes, but
so is he a tall
like the
man
ever? He is the tallest of the men. He's like the tallest ever.
So the elves are like respect.
Yeah,
there's another tall being on this earth.
Yes. Okay, so the Tall Terror, Blonde Thunder, which is my personal favorite, the Blonde Berserker, Orcbane, which is the one that someone voted for, the Blonde Butcher, Scourge of the Easterlings, or Axe-Wielding Avenger.
Whoa, that sounds like Thor.
Vote.
Whoa.
Yep, yeah. So we're going to put it on the Instagram somehow. One of us is going to do it. And I want you guys all to vote because, I mean, there's a lot of good options there. I kind of love them all. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you listen to the podcast on Spotify, we have random questions at the end of every episode that you can answer. So one is a poll that you can just like choose from the multiple choice options, and one is like a fill-in. So I think like 1 week I was like, why do you think he cut out so much of this dialogue? It's awesome. Or what do you really think of Tuor? Like, so, I mean, if you want to respond, I published the cool ones. You want to like give me any feedback, but it's fine. If you know, it's fine. It's fine. Anyways, let me tell you a story. Okay, so we last left Tuor in a pitch black cave all by himself, with the only way to know he was moving forward was by the feel of his hand on the rock wall, which terrifying. But as you might imagine, it probably took some getting used to. Like, it was a bit slow going at first. I imagine there's like a trust process. Like, I'm okay. Just move forward. Like,
you know, you do that thing. Here. I don't know if you've been in a lot of dark caves. I've been in a few. Where you have to do that. Where you have to like feel the wall, and you do the thing where you like put your foot out and like kind of sweep out your foot in front of you to make sure there's like nothing there. Yeah. Terrifying. It's terrifying. So, it is.
Yeah. So he's going pretty slow at first, but eventually, as nothing seems to be really in his way, he manages to start, he gains confidence. He's able to actually like keep up a good pace. So I'm guessing, along with the air fresheners those elves made in the cave, they also made sure that there was not like a single pebble to be tripped over on that path. Like, no, we have to have it impeccably smooth, guys. No tripping hazards allowed, or we'll,
They have tiny Roombas in there. Do you hear my
who's the OSHA
foreman?
Inspector?
Do you hear my toddler foreman in the background?
Oh, he was the OSHA inspector. I get it.
Yes. He's like, what is this? And he picks up a tiny
This is not up to code.
What is this?
So, Tuor's journey, although faster than he started, is taking a great while. But he doesn't really want to stop and take a break in the middle of this black tunnel. Like, I imagine if you, for 1 second, took your my left hand is on this wall. Like, if you took it off and, like, put it, like, if you spun around at all, you are screwed. Like,
yeah. Is it a huge tunnel? Or is it like a
in my head, it's like maybe you could I'd say walkway. In my head, it's a walkway. It doesn't say, but in my head, like, you could probably reach from like one end to the other, like maybe, like with your hands.
I mean, he's a pretty tall guy. Maybe it's
right. So maybe he could, yeah.
Yeah.
So, he's just trying to get this over with as quickly as possible. And then suddenly, quote, he saw far before him a light.
No, Tuor, don't go to the light. Not the light at the end of the tunnel. You're too young.
This light's actually good for once.
Okay.
But also, remember Gelmir's maybe not quite so cryptic hint he gave to Tuor earlier? Through darkness, one may come to the light.
Oh. Literally.
Literal. Yeah. So he sees the light at the end of this tunnel, and I can just imagine him just starting to sprint for it. So he's just running, and then he comes to a cleft with a noisy stream that he had probably been following all along. Like, it's probably the same stream. And I just, like, imagine it's like Olmo, like, clapping for him, like, you finally did it, good job! You can do it, make it to the finish line, buddy!
Yeah. We did it!
Okay, so for this next part, Tolkien uses some great imagery here. So I'm going to use a lot of quotes in this, like, from basically here on, because he just does some awesome imagery. But if you can, like, don't do this if you're driving or whatever, but close your eyes and picture this.
Yep.
Quote.
If you're driving, please. Please no.
Quote. And before him, the setting sun, going down through a clear sky, shone into the ravine and kindled its walls with yellow fire. And the waters of the river glittered like gold as they broke and foamed upon many gleaming stones.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. So how come there's not more artwork of this? Like, I feel like there's a bit, but, like, come on. I want more.
Whoa.
All of the colors.
Yeah. I feel like he's pretty good at describing scenery. That's how the world became so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're going to make a movie about it, I know you have some visions in your head, but, like, Peter Jackson probably was relying a lot on Tolkien's actual descriptions, which he did such a good job that it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So he makes his way through this ravine, and following the river, apparently the stream turned into a river, and Tuor is just pumped. He is out of that dark tunnel. He just got to view an amazing sunset. Things are just looking up for Tuor, and he's just filled with great hope and delight.
What is Tuor's technical last name? Technically his last name.
I don't think they have last name.
Everything
of House of Hodor. Yeah.
Hodor, everything's coming up Hodor.
Yeah. So, quote, and when night came and the river rushed on unseen, save for a glint of high stars mirrored in dark pools, Then he rested and slept, for he felt no fear beside that water in which the power of Ulmo ran.
Ooh, wow.
I know. Like, nice water. The ocean is a friend of mine. Or, I mean, the water is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
after
It's like
a
white
good night's
noise to fall asleep. I was
it
camping
would
last
be like
year.
white noise.
I went camping last year, and our cabin was next to a stream, or next to a stream river thing that was like kind of loud, but it like kind of turned into white noise after a while. It was pretty nice. We like kept all the windows of the cabin open at night. It was pretty nice, gotta say. Pretty good.
Well, Tuor just gets an amazing good night's sleep with that white noise. And when he starts his day, he's not really in any hurry. Quote, the sun rose behind his back and set before his face. And where the water foamed among the boulders or rushed over sudden falls, at morning and evening rainbows were woven across the stream.
What?
Rainbow.
Beautiful.
So
That sounds
Tuor
like
is that guy.
Fairyland, like
right? I mean, of course. I mean, why wouldn't you want to take your time? But I also feel like, the anxious teenager that Tuor was, he's matured a bit at this point. He's learned some patience, and this guy is the guy on a vacation that just likes to take his time. He likes to take in the scenery from every viewpoint, maybe pick a wildflower or two. He is just all about the journey, not the destination.
I mean, he's had a rough couple years. He's like,
yeah,
finally.
Yes. But, I mean, it seems a bit contradictory because, like, he's been trying to, like, find this place. You'd think he'd be like, I'm on my way, I'm gonna go. But no, he's like, what a nice pool there. See how the water glimmers in the pool. Like,
do you think, I mean, this is me, like when I'm super stressed about something, and then when like I get to a point where it's all done and I don't have to, like, I've ended it or something, like my body's like, okay, it's time to shut down. Like, it's time to relax for a second. Maybe that's what's his what is that called? That stress hormone?
Adrenaline.
Yeah. Cortisone something. Like, it's crashing, and so he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I deserve this.
He's like, you know what? I'm going to focus on Tuor. What's good for Tuor?
He has, like, he made a flower crown. Like, he like washes his hair. He's like, yeah, this is what I need.
Quote, thus Tuor journeyed slowly for 3 days, drinking the cold water, but desiring no food, though there were many fish that shone as gold and silver, or gleamed with colors like to the rainbows in the spray above.
What?
Rainbow fish!
Well, maybe he's like under some enchantment.
Maybe. Maybe. But also, I wish Tolkien explained why he made a point of saying he wasn't hungry here, because, like, he doesn't ever explain it. I mean, Tuor is a growing man-child, and those boys, again, 4 older brothers, boys can eat, y'all, like, ridiculous amounts. So the fact that he isn't eating right now is like, but why?
Maybe, like,
that's not normal.
Maybe he's like under some enchantment. Ooh.
Maybe. So on the 4th day of his travels from the dark tunnel, he starts to notice a change. The river's starting to get deeper, wider, stronger, and all of a sudden it starts overflowing into a beautiful, shimmering waterfall.
But you're not supposed to go chasing waterfalls, Tuor. Was it TLC? Told you not to do that.
I think it's TLC. Well, he's not going to chase it because Remember, he's the
Stick to
take it in take it
rivers.
all in guy. I
What
don't
is
remember
it?
the
The
words of the
rivers
song.
and the something that you're used to, Tuor. Don't go chasing waterfalls.
Well, he's not going to chase it because he's the take it all in kind of guy right now. So he just sits by the water, quote, watching the swirling of the stream and listening to its endless voice until night came again and stars shone cold and white in the dark lane of sky above him.
Ooh. He's just
Like,
chilling.
what a nice
He's
life
like,
this is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to say this. Lots of mention of stars lately, possibly foreshadowing the role his own son could take in the future.
My baby's gonna be a star. It takes it to a new level.
It takes it to a whole new level. I love it. But I also love the line here of listening to its endless voice. Because, I mean, if you think back, when the world was created, Ulmo would kind of speak to the elves through the water, and only the elves could understand him. But somehow, this magical man can somehow hear some kind of a voice through the water, which is kind of cool. So he's sitting by the pretty water. And what does he do? What's he going to do?
He's going to sing.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's what he did in the beginning, right? He's like,
right? Yeah.
I'm contemplating my life. What should I do? I shall sing.
Very Broadway. So Broadway. So Broadway.
Magical harp.
But I also thought of that one scene in Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Vanellope's like, wait, you're saying if I just stare at some water? And then Arrow's like, no, important water. And Vanellope's like, okay, important water. I stare at the important water, and somehow magically I'll start singing about my dream. Tuor is a Disney princess.
I knew it.
I knew it.
He has his flower crown. He has and then all the birds and forest creatures come and surround him while he's singing.
Quote, then he lifted up his voice and plucked the strings of his harp. So, yes.
I was right.
You were right.
He does start singing.
All right, but something's going to happen here because his song that he's singing, it starts to echo. And here we're going to tie in something from our past that we will now know two versions of. A bit of an explanation. This is why the Unfinished Tales is so awesome. Quote, for though he knew it not, Tuor was now come to the echoing mountains of Lamoth. There, once long ago, Fëanor had landed from the sea, and the voices of his host were swelled to a mighty clamor upon the coasts of the north, ere the rising of the moon. So I'm not sure if you remember that. So they had just stolen the ships from the Teleri, and they, were making their way to Middle Earth, and they land, and they're making all this noise, and it starts echoing in the mountains near them.
Yes,
I remember that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. So another cool footnote from the Unfinished Tales. I'm not going to tell you all the footnotes because some of them are well, but this one's cool. So referencing the echoing mountains from the Silmarillion, it says, quote, it is told that when Morgoth and Ungoliant struggled in this region for possession of the Silmarils, Morgoth sent forth a terrible cry that echoed in the mountains. Therefore, that region was called Lamoth, for the echoes of his voice dwelt there ever after, so that any who cried aloud in that land awoke them. And all the waste between the hills and the sea was filled with a clamor as of voices in anguish. Do you remember that bit of Nightmare Fuel?
Scary noise. You know what?
Yes.
You know what I think would reminds me of? If I had to choose what that sounded like.
Yeah.
I think it sounded like the creepy Nazgul that screech.
Yeah.
Like that noise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And is it a barn owl? No. There's an owl has such a scary noise when it screams. That's what they make horror movie. Like they record that
No,
owl's
thank
noise, and
you.
it's like a horror movie, very common horror movie noise.
Thank you.
Because it's so terrifying. Oh my gosh, it's so scary. That's what my thought is. That's what it would sound like to me. And like it also like very like deep grumble. It like turns into that where it's like you know, the sound layering where it's like you have that really high pitched scary,
echoing. So
it's also like deep in the lands, like beneath your feet, kind of scary noise.
Yeah. It kind of made me think of that one part in the Hunger Games where they get, I forget, I think it's the third one, where they get trapped in like the little like section, and they have the birds that are like that are like making the voices of like their loved ones screaming. Like that's what it reminds me of.
The mockingjays?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is a barn owl.
Jabberjays. Those were jabberjays. Yes. Sorry.
It's a barn owl.
Just a barn. So when Keely and Feely say hoot twice like a barn owl, he was supposed to be like. Sorry. So it just made me think of. So. Very subtle, very subtle. So that is one way of how they were portrayed in the Silmarillion. But here in the footnotes of the Unfinished Tales, it says, quote, on the other hand, this conception is rather that any sound uttered there was magnified in its own nature. So, like, for example, later in the Silmarillion, it describes the scene we talked about a minute ago with the host of Fëanor landing there. So, and I don't remember exactly what I said in that episode when we were talking about it, because I feel like we had this discussion, like, wait, so is it echoing the noise, or is it echoing, like, you know, someone laughs, then all of a sudden screaming happens from Morgoth's echoing? Like, it seemed a bit contradictory. Yeah. So Tolkien says here, quote, it seems that according to the one tradition, Lamoth and Ered Lomin, the echoing mountains, were so named from their retaining the echoes of Morgoth's dreadful cry and the toils of Ungoliant, while according to the other, the names are simply descriptive of the nature of sounds in that region. So
do you think the real estate
he wanted it both ways
around there?
Oh, so cheap.
Great school district, beautiful views. There is consistent screaming every day. Like
the what do they call it? The that's not road noise. The what's it called? Like the noise pollution. Noise pollution.
Yeah, noise pollution. Yeah, a little high, little terrifying.
Yeah, we do have a subscription for free noise canceling headphones, though. So I mean, there's that bonus.
Yes, it doesn't cancel out the chill of fear that will go through your spine, but it does take down the decibels a little bit.
So I'm just loving reading the Unfinished Tales with you, because I'm like, we had that same question of why that was so contradictory in the Silmarillion. So, like, thank you for connecting that dot. But I was thinking, like, maybe Tolkien, I love how Tolkien just, like, has different variations of his stories, because in my head, he's always telling these stories to his kids. And so, like, maybe one night he was telling the story to, like, the younger kids, and he was like, and then these mountains had this really cool echo. And then he, like, you know, do you know what an echo is? And when, you know, it explains it and stuff. But then, like, the other nights, he was telling the story to his older kids, and he's, like, trying to scare them a bit. And maybe he goes a bit too far, and he's like, and Morgoth's cries and shrieks of agony would forever haunt those mountains, and at the slightest noise, echoes of his agony would reverberate through the hills, terrorizing all those who passed. Then it was like that scene in the beginning of Moana where all the other kids start crying, and then I can just see, like, Christopher just sitting there enraptured and just starts clapping.
Yay, again.
That is the only scenario I will picture from now on. It's just Christopher sitting there.
Yeah. Like the little hobbit child and the Bilbo's telling the story too.
Yes. Okay. Anyways, cool connection. Yay, Unfinished Tales. So, in this story, is Tuor's song going to echo beautifully through the mountains or cause an echo of shrieking horror? What do you think it's going to do?
Beautifully?
Quote,
I hope.
and
What if he's a really bad singer?
I had that same thought too. Quote, and above the noise of the water, the sound of his song and the sweet thrilling of the harp were echoed in the stone and multiplied, and went forth and rang in the night-clad hills until all the empty land was filled with music beneath the stars.
Beautiful.
Like, phew, that could have, if it had gone the other way, things could have turned real dark for Tuor there. Like,
right?
What sweet hell is this? But no, I actually kind of like this version because Tolkien had used these echoing hills like before as something like scary with Morgoth, and then I couldn't find the right word, like amped up, like vengeful with the Fëanor and his armies, like bloodthirsty almost. And now with Tuor playing his harp and singing, and I'm sure it was a beautiful song. I wish I want a soundtrack of that. But it's like Tuor is cleansing the mountains of its past terrors. I kind of like it.
Yeah. All the birds are singing with him.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure Tuor could have played some awesome songs using these echoing mountains, and I would have been entertained for probably a good while. But one seemed to be enough for Tuor, because upon hearing his song echo through the mountains, he is, quote, filled with wonder and stayed his song. And slowly the music died in the hills, and there was silence.
After so long.
Mm-hmm. And then we have another Zelda moment. I'm positive it was exactly like a Zelda moment. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Because the silence does last for a while, but then all of a sudden, Tuor hears something in the air above him, like a strange cry.
Oh. Okay.
And, at first, he has no idea what's making that noise. He's like, maybe it's a Fae voice. And I found out reading like the other works of Tolkien, like Fae, like used to mean like scary or otherworldly, and he cried out as one Fae, that's kind of what we thought it meant before. But in other works, Fae is almost like, what do they call it? The old ones, like in Celtic mythology, like fairies, or the old ones, or more mystical. So that's more referring to like one of the Maiar or the Valar, mainly the Maiar. But that's kind of what he means. Like so he says like maybe it's a Fae voice, like maybe it's one of the Maiar calling to me. He's like, no, not that. Maybe it's a small beast. No, it's not that. And then he hears it cry a second time, and somehow he's like, no, wait, that's a bird. I don't know why that part made me laugh, but that's a bird. Quote, and it seemed to him a mournful sound, and yet he desired nonetheless to hear it and follow it, for it called him, he knew not whither.
I think it's like Fox from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Kind of noise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like it. And apparently he doesn't follow the bird cry for long, because he seems to go to sleep, because it's like, then the next morning, I'm like, wait,
I'll check it out later. Yeah. I'm going to go to sleep.
But the next morning he hears the same bird cry above his head, which is like, that's got to be like the worst alarm clock ever. Quote, and looking up, he saw 3 great white birds beating down the raving against the westerly wind, and their strong wings shone in the new risen sun. And as they passed over him, they wailed aloud. Thus, for the first time, he beheld the great gulls, beloved of the Teleri.
So these are different than the swans.
Correct.
Now giant seagulls. There's
correct.
giant eagles. There's giant swans. And now there's giant seagulls. What?
Well, that's what happens when the Lord of the Valar, the head Valar, is in charge of the birds. That's what happens. It's like, and how about we make them bigger? Yeah.
What if he just has like someone he doesn't really like, and he's like, "You get giant pigeons." They're like, "Ah, dang it."
Well, I mean, if only Tolkien knew what we think of seagulls now. And everyone's like, because in the book, it's like they're so beloved of the Teleri that seagulls are. Like, I freaking hate seagulls. Like,
have you met a seagull?
Yeah, exactly.
So my husband is from Utah, and they have seagulls in Utah, which is funny to me because there's no sea. There is a little giant lake, but there's like no sea. Anyway.
Right.
And when I first brought him up to Oregon, where I live close to the coast. Like I can drive to the beach very, very quickly where I live. And I took him there, and he was freaking out because the seagulls that we have in Oregon are like 3 times as big as the ones that are in Utah. The ones in Utah are like almost the size of pigeons, like a little bit bigger than pigeons. But the ones we have here are like huge. They're like bigger than hawks. They're kind of intimidating.
They have thrived.
Yeah. And so he was freaking out. He was like, "Why are they so big? Why are they so big?" And we were sitting in our car, and they all landed on top of our car, like a flock of them, just like landed all on top of our car. And we had a sunroof, and so that opened, and so we like opened it a little bit, and like we had, I think it was like bread or some kind of cracker, and we were like kind of putting our fingers through and like feeding them. And I got bit by one, and its beak is bigger than my full finger. And I was like, I could lose a finger from this seagull. Like it could chop off my finger right now. So seagulls are a little, if they're bigger, if they're giant seagulls, that's terrifying.
Yeah. And like, yeah. So I don't know what Tolkien's fascination with birds is. Not the creature I expected Tolkien to be,
Fly away.
And like if you could see like Finding Nemo and how they think of seagulls in that movie too.
That's my favorite.
A little sad.
The seagulls from Finding Nemo, the pigeons from
and the
Bolt,
seals,
and the pigeons from Bolt.
Yes,
and the pigeons from Spies in Disguise kill me.
Yes,
those I love it so much.
Yes. So, and also significance of the number 3 here. Why 3 birds? Got a Bob Marley song waiting here.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
but that would be terrifying. Eagles are terrifying of their own because like they have giant claws. I want to see giant flippers on seagulls, like flap 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 flap. Like.
So Tuor starts following these terrifying gulls, and he starts climbing this cliff, quote, upon his left hand, which is interesting because that's the second time Tolkien has specified him using his left hand. It was a left hand to feel along the cave or the tunnel, cave wall. Now he's climbing the cliff on his left hand. Usually left means evil, and I'm saying that as a left-handed person, so come at me. But I'm just curious. I accept it. But I'm just curious. He doesn't like just throw things out willy-nilly. Like I'm trying to think like, but why the left?
But why?
But why? It's like my life question. So anyways, when he gets to the top of this cliff, he, quote, felt a great wind out of the west rush against his face, and his hair streamed from his head, and he drank deep of that new air and said, "This uplifts the heart like the drinking of cool wine." But he knew not that the wind came fresh from the great sea.
That's why they're seagulls.
Mm-hmm. So I love that he makes a note of that. Like,
yet?
Not yet. We're gonna get there. But I love that he's like amazed at fresh sea air. No one's seen the ocean yet. Or no man has seen the ocean yet. I don't think his Sindar elves had either. I mean, they might have, but they seemed more inland gray elves. But like, I love that. Can you tell this guy has been living in a cave most of his life? Because he's like, what is this fresh air? It's so amazing. Like,
stagnant air is, yeah. I could say, he lived in a cave for so long. Why was he like scared to be in a cave again?
I was going through the tunnel. Too. I don't think he was scared. He just wanted to get it over with. He's like, this isn't, I've been here, done this. I want to move along. Like,
yeah.
And he always had, I imagine, lights before. He wasn't in like a dark cave before. But I just want you to think about the everyday things you take for granted in life, guys. Like, we're in the Pacific Northwest. We have fresh sea air all the time. I can literally see the sea.
You can see sea?
From my window.
You can. She's very lucky. She has a beautiful view out her window. I'm very lucky.
But like, Tuor never had that until now. And so he's just like, you guys appreciate every moment. He can't see the sea yet. He can smell the sea and breathe the sea, but he's not seeing the sea.
Clearing out those sinuses.
Can you see?
Yeah. Well, I know. I haven't been able to go to see the sea near me because it's been so crazy windy and rainy. So yeah. I haven't been able to go in a few months. But I know we do take it for granted. It's beautiful.
It is.
Everyone has to see the ocean in their lifetime. I must say this.
100%.
Everyone has to see the ocean in their lifetime. It was an amazing thing to do that last year. No, 2 years ago, I got to take my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and all my nieces and nephews to the ocean for the first time, and it was amazing. Like, they had never seen it before in their life. And I was like, you guys, it's gorgeous. So I can see how Tuor was amazed. It is, even just smelling it, not even seeing it yet, you're like, this is different. Mm-hmm. This is invigorating.
Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, you say the ocean and, I'm thinking of like the entire world. Like, you could picture like Hawaii ocean or something like that. But the way that he's like going through these rivers and going through this ravine and climbing a cliff, like it seems very like, honestly, we're a little biased, but I swear, like, this is a very Pacific Northwest, or I guess England too. Mm-hmm. But like I'm able to visualize it very well coming from the Pacific Northwest, because like that is very much how a lot of the coastline is. Just a lot of like following a river and these like scary cliff things, and then all of a sudden, ocean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
now I want to go to the beach.
Right? Let's go. Let's go to the beach.
Let's go to the beach. Let's just go.
So
anyway, are you leaving? Are you leaving me hanging now?
I am. Yeah. I feel like, and this is not my fault. This is the non-similarly version. So like, I think I posted a meme a while ago about someone reading The Hobbit for the first time. And he's like, yeah, I'm like, it's supposed to be this guy on a big journey, and I'm like halfway through, or like I'm, a quarter of the way through. And he's like, oh, he must be really far on the journey. It's like, no, he hasn't even left his house yet. Like,
yeah,
that is very much the pace that Tolkien is setting in this book versus the Silmarillion. Like the Silmarillion, literally a page of what we have covered. We're like 6 pages into the Unfinished Tales version. So
crazy.
I'm not trying to, drag it out. He added more details, and I feel like we need to emphasize that.
Thank you, Tolkien. Thank you.
Thank you, Tolkien. So be sure to follow us on Instagram at Sisters of the Shire Podcast. You can become a patron and join our Patreon at patreon.com/Sisters of the Shire Podcast, like our dwarf friend of the Shire, Dan, and our elf friends of the Shire, Chrishane and Tom. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. It really helps us out. And if you want to help out, that'd be great. If not, if you could just do it, please, a tiny favor, share us with your friends or give us a rating on whatever platform you listen to your podcast on. It really helps us out. In world news, shots fired, because people have been overtaking people.
Whoa.
Russia, what are you doing? Overtook Serbia and Pakistan. Just a little too on the nose. I'm not going to lie. But that sounds really bad.
This is the only time we allow countries overtaking other countries.
Yeah. So it was 40th, but it is now 38th. So, I mean, get it, Russia. Iceland's on my bucket list 100%, but it was 35th and it is now 33rd. So it overtook Taiwan, Kuwait. Get it, Iceland. You and your beautiful scenery that I want to see one day.
I know.
And our listener in the Philippines that's been going through some kind of a binge session, get it, person. They keep going up. Yeah. They were 34th last week. They are now 32nd. So go, Philippines person.
Whoa.
Get it.
Well, thanks for teaching me today.
You're welcome.
Well, I was going to say, I apologize again thank goodness you didn't hear the saw. The saw was pretty loud, but
I grew up in a remodel a bit.
Didn't do that while we were recording, but you did hear my toddler construction foreman site manager. So I apologize for that.
Does he have a hard hat, ma'am? That's a hard hat. Only
oh my gosh. OSHA violation. Anyway, thank you for sticking with us through this construction time.
Yeah. Until next week, I've been Ashley.
And I've been Abby. And this has been the Sisters of the Shire podcast. And we're so glad you joined us today and are here. And we hope that you join us next week. Bye.
Bye.